Welcome, guys. Welcome to Young Leading Leadership Edition 22. We're having um, a coach who's from South Africa, and it's a great privilege really to have her here. So, I'm going to actually send her the link now, and then she's going to join us, and then we'll start from there. Okay. 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 Let's see. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to send the link now so that she could just join us. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to first of all read the introduction before she joins us. So Miss Vuli is a founder of the Earth's Hits Consulting and Pan-African coaching firm with presence in Botswana, South Africa, Rwanda, Nigeria, and United States of America. She has successfully led teams and globally, remotely, been able to effectively adapt during these unprecedented times of pandemic, whilst growing the business. She's the voice behind the world of work with Bumi Carriers features on Botswana, Duma FM, as well as South Africa, Kaya FM. She's been featured on international media outlets including CNBC Africa, Business Day Nigeria, ENCA Ghana. She's traveled to over 55 countries, worked for reputable companies over the world such as Barclays and Vodafone. She holds an accounting science degree and honors in financial planning, postgraduate from New York University, MBA from University of London. She's currently studying a doctorate in Switzerland. A business accolade includes being named Mali and Ghanaia's top 200 young South African, CEO Magazine Pan-African Businesswoman, and Brand South Africa Play Your Part Ambassador. That is our speaker for today. Thanks very much for accepting the invitation. So good to be heading her right away. It's a great privilege to have you here today. Thank you so much. Good morning, good evening, rather.
Yeah, good evening. I'm an hour behind you. How are you?
Thank you. Very fine, very fine. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I'm really grateful. Really grateful. It's a great privilege to have you. So, Ma, you're South African, and your name's actually very nice and beautiful in the tongue. So, can you help me pronounce your name so I don't make a mistake pronouncing it?
Okay, so my name sounds, if you're Nigerian, it sounds very similar to Fumi, but with a V. So
Okay. Okay. Wumi, okay. So I could just easily call you Fumi.
Yeah, all my Nigerian friends call me Fumi Lola, so it's fine.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm really grateful for accepting my invitation. Really grateful. And when I went through your profile, and I realized that wow, this is a lot for an African woman, especially when we have so much stereotype in society today that, especially in Africa, while the Western world sees and the Western world sees us like, oh, we can't really do as much as they think we're not. So it's a great privilege to have you here today, and I briefly want to give you a chance to speak about something little before we go straight up to the question.
What would you like me to speak about? I suppose my career journey?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, as you mentioned, I studied accounting. So I actually thought I'd become a chartered accountant, which is very far removed from my personality type. And I started working at the bank. So I started working at Investec Private Bank. And I started at the call center, which is very administrative and right at the bottom of the ladder rung. But I found myself always putting up my hand, asking to volunteer and creating those opportunities for myself. And I always joke and say, you should never really despise small beginnings, because that opportunity at the call center, in giving great service, a client recommended me for my next role, which was actually at Barclays. So sometimes you get frustrated where you are because you're thinking, I'm just a call center agent. That call center agent is actually opportunities, actually giving you a chance to learn critical skills, how to manage people, how to deal with angry customers, how operations work. So whatever opportunity you find yourself, specifically in the African context, make sure you are leveraging it, because it most likely will catapult you to that next role. So That's what I did for several years in the banking sector. And then I moved from banking to telecommunications at Vodafone, where I looked after strategy and operations. And I suppose at the age of 30, I always told myself I would then, run my own shop and be an entrepreneur. So at 30, I left and I started businesses, and I focused on becoming a full-time career coach. But like typical entrepreneur, there are various businesses that I do, but coaching is definitely my primary focus and passion.
Wow, wow, wow. I need to give a clap. Thank you so much, man. It's really powerful, You said something, said never despite your little beginning. I think that I'm taking that as a quote for the week. Thank you so much, man.
I
Never
can't take
despise.
credit for that miracle. That's in the Bible. That's not from me.
Okay. So we're going to go straight up to the questions. So we're going to be asking Mrs. Vumi some few questions, and then so I'm going to start with the first question. The first question is this: being an African, how were you able to break free from the general stereotype that Africans aren't capable of coming to the global limelight?
So being an African is one space, right? But also being from a South African context is another layer, right? So the history of South Africa is the challenge we have with race. So the biggest challenge I found is we're dreaming of opportunities that I'd never seen someone who looks like me be in. And I think that becomes very, very important. Is in the African context, you cannot limit yourself to only what you've seen. You have to expose yourself to what you've read and think and believe inherently that you're worthy to be in those spaces with the people that you've only imagined in your mind. So that was, I escaped into books. So that gave me the confidence to think I belonged wherever it is that I believed I belonged. But of course, reality hits, right? And I didn't even realize particularly that I was Black or African. And I think it only hit me when I left the continent. When I arrived in New York, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you weren't aware of the fact. And I was like, oh, they're like, no, there's your cousin from Cameroon. I was like, where's Cameroon? I didn't even know. But it shows you that, oh, you have to become a little bit more aware of your context. And if you're able to leave what everyone says, this is the box you belong in, that's the first step. Being African is an identity, but it's not all of who you are.
Wow.
You're a lot more expansive than that. Because we've seen Africans do amazing things, but they didn't just say, oh, it's because of Africans, so that's the reason it's not working out. I think that mentality of we're here to beg from the rest of the world has to shift. It has to come from a space where I'm African, therefore I am worthy, and therefore I'm brilliant as much as a European or an Asian.
Wow. Thank you so much. This is very powerful. Very, very powerful. He said being an African is an identity, but not all who you are. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So the next question is this: you're very successful. You have a track record of your success and how far you've gone. How did you come this far? And how were you able to manage your down times, your failures, and your rejections?
So that's part of the story, right? So I'll start with how did I manage with the failures. Failures happen a lot. And failures give us an opportunity to recalibrate. So I remember my first major failure. So I grew up in a township. For those who are in West Africa, you don't know what a township is. They segregated areas that were created just for Black people. And there's usually quite a lot of poverty in townships. Obviously, this is starting to change, but I grew up in a township, and my family was very protective. You're not allowed to play outside. They were constantly worried about safety and the exposure I would get. So that's how I grew up. And then I was able to get myself a scholarship into a school that shifted my perspective. So I got into St. Mary's, and I got there, and all of a sudden I'm the only Black girl in my entire grade. Everyone else is Caucasian and white. So that was the first shift to say, oh, the world is different than what I know. But even then I succeeded, it was great, got a scholarship, went to varsity, did okay. Straight after university for my undergrad, I failed my honors, not once, twice. So for someone who's used to getting A's, all of a sudden having to deal with the fact that I could be a failure. And that's what a lot of us start to internalize, that I am a failure, as opposed to I failed. And those are two different things. For me, realizing that I failed gave me an opportunity to recalibrate. Failure is feedback. It's not an identity.
Wow.
So every time you fail, it's an opportunity for you to say, who am I? What is the feedback? And the feedback for me was maybe accounting isn't the right degree for me. So that's how I look at failure. It's always an opportunity to recalibrate and to get feedback.
Wow. Wow, I never expected this, but this is very powerful. I want every young person to actually watch this. Actually, you said failure is feedback, not an identity. Wow. Okay, I need to go on. I need to go so I don't waste much of time. So the third question is this: you're very young, and there is a general myth that says it is okay to be lenient with your goals and vision while you're young. How are you able to balance being young and your passion and drive for what you love, and at the same time having to understand when to be lenient?
Oh, that's a very good question. So I took, and I still do, right? I take youth as an opportunity to allow yourself to grow. And I'm a big believer that your 20s are your sweet spot to learn as much as you can. Your 30s, you implement. Your 40s, you should be really settling into major wealth creation. Because for me, I want to retire at least at 45. So I know
Wow.
I've got a 10-year bracket to get it done, right? So my career, I was very fortunate. I was sitting at Exco by the time I was 24. So the challenge is I drove myself very hard in my 20s. I can see that I don't have as much energy in my 30s, but it's all about where do I want to be? And the question is, are you playing the short term or the long term? For me, it's always the long term. There's a beautiful saying that says, I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams. My grandfather would never be allowed to study at the university I did. He had a fourth grade education. So the fact that I can sit in class in Switzerland means I don't just do it for myself, but I do it for those who came before me. There's a beautiful poem by Maya Angelou. It's called To My Grandmothers. And she says, I come as one. I stand as 10,000. So
Wow.
for me, that's how I balance it. You only sing for me, but it's 10,000 ancestors behind me who didn't have this opportunity. And for them, I can't drop the ball. And there are 10,000 coming after me that I don't have the luxury of dropping the ball. The reality is, as Africans, if you're fortunate, you are in Ghana, you've had over 60 years of freedom. And if you're in South Africa, you've had 20-something years of freedom. As Africans, we do not have the luxury of relaxing. The rest of the world is like, oh, colonization happened, good luck to you. We have to step up to the plate. We have to close that gap. Otherwise, we're always going to have that image of us with a begging bowl.
Wow. I think this answer is very, very powerful. I'm so happy to have some of my friends that I joined here, and I think they really need to listen to this. I have to cut that question, the third question, I have to cut that and then spread it all around for people to actually watch that. Okay, so the third question is this. How did you ever think of giving up on your journey to becoming what you envisioned? How were you able to scale through and manage those moments?
Oh, so the temptation to give up happens a lot. So when I started the business, coming from corporate, right? I came from big brands. When I say Vodafone, people will take my meetings. I say has said, people are like, what's that? Who's that? The brand doesn't open doors for you anymore. Your qualifications don't open doors because becoming an entrepreneur is saying, yes, I've got the corporate know-how, but I've got the street smarts and the hustle mentality. And that transition for me was hard. I remember at some point they were like, the failure was so bad, cars were being repossessed. I was in tears. I was like, this is not what the business plan said. This is not what I imagined. But my question to myself is, do I stop now? Because I don't know anyone who ever died from disappointment. I don't know
Wow.
anyone who ever died from failure. So in that moment, you have to know that the vision is bigger than you. There's a verse that I like that says, though the vision tarry, it'll come to pass. So sometimes it looks like it's not stable. It looks like it's not going to happen. But the difference between those who stayed and succeeded and those who failed was the decision to stay. We look at Jeff Bezos, we're like, oh, he's the richest man in the world. He was unprofitable for over a decade. He chose the vision. So it's important that you're able to choose that vision, even when it feels like failure. And it's a daily decision.
Wow. But this is really powerful. Like it looks like I need time to relax and then digest and then go on again. So I'm just going to go on. Okay, so the fifth question is this. What can you tell us about passion and career? Is everyone meant to have a career, or is everyone actually meant to just follow their passion?
Ooh, that's a very good question, right? So often when we say career, people are thinking work. So then the question becomes, is it passion over purse? Like, do you secure the bag or do you follow your passion? And the reality is, let's define what a career is. A career is what we do for a living. It's over our entire life. And it's the legacy, in essence, we should leave after we retire. That's a career. So people won't say, oh my goodness, I hit 12 million sales targets. But it's the people you impacted, right? It's the solutions you brought to the table. For me, I don't think that as a career coach, I say this numerous times, that the average person will have eight roles in their life, 8 jobs in their life. Make sure that one of those are something you're very passionate about. And also remember that there's a difference between passion and love. Passion, you're excited, yo, I could do this every single day. Love is even when it's hard, I'm in the trenches. It's consistently doing the right actions, even when it's difficult to do so. So for me, I'm passionate about seeing people become the best version of themselves. How that passion is playing out is my role as a career coach. How that passion plays out is when I'm on radio. How that passion plays out is when I'm writing. So finding careers that express our passion, I think, is our life's work. But beyond that is the fulfillment of the true passion should be the fulfillment of our purpose.
The passion should be fulfillment of. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. Wow. I'm surprised, but I just have to take time. Please, let's take time to just digest.
Virgil, why are you surprised? What surprised
Because of
you?
I never expected this was going to come with full force. Like it's packaged with full force. I'm so sure I have guys that are here that they don't stay for too long, but they're still here. They're still watching, and this is very powerful. Exactly. Okay, so
Well, I'm seeing that I am Samuel is asking a question. Clarity between passion and love. Okay, I'm Samuel. Let me unpack that for you. So love is a consistent decision and choice every day when the feeling is gone. So when the feeling is gone, love stays. It's commitment. Passion is the excitement and joy that comes in waves. It comes and it goes. It ebbs and flows in essence. So for me, if we follow something purely for passion, it's because it excites me. So let's say you are a club DJ and music is your passion and being in the club is your passion. Will it still be your passion when you are 80? So clubbing, being a club DJ might be your passion, but music might be your love. Because at 80, you might decide, actually, I can't be in the club anymore, but I'm committed to creating music. So I'd rather be an executive producer, for example. So that's the difference between passion and love. Love is a commitment that you choose daily. Passion, it comes and it goes. And we get passionate about different things all the time. It doesn't sustain a career that can last several decades.
Wow. So I hope that question has been answered. That's my graphic designer. He does the graphics design for us in the team. So
Oh,
um
awesome.
so the sixth question is this. As they say, there's a sowing time and there's a reaping time. So many young people find it hard to wait after they've sown. What can you tell us on how we can wait as young people after we have sown seed?
Oh, that's a good question. So there are universal laws that apply to everybody. We all, if we jump up, we must land. The law of gravity. The law that you're talking about is the law of gestation. It is the law that as a woman, I conceive today, in 40 weeks' time, I should give birth to a baby. As an elephant, I conceive today, in 2 years' time, I'll give birth to a small elephant. The law remains the same. What happens is because we've sowed, we're frustrated in the gestation period. The period where things need to germinate, we have to wait on the sunshine, we have to wait on the water, we have to trust that the soil has enough nutrients. And often when we are frustrated, in essence, there's a lack of faith there. There's either a lack of faith in the soul, in the seed that we've sown, or there's a lack of faith in the process. And the reason it hits us when we're young is we haven't had enough life experience to trust the process.
Wow.
So what you then have to remind yourself is there is the law of gestation. It will come when it comes. It's, salespeople do it well. They say that, the more people you target, the more lucky you are in closing the deal. That's a blanket approach, right? So you reach out for 100 people, you pray 10 will agree. But people who understand the law of gestation are comfortable to know, actually, the chances are this is going to take this period. This is when most people are actually going to close the sale. So let me push most of my effort there. Because they now understand the ebb and flow of it, basically the cycle of it. So when you're getting frustrated as a young person, look at nature, I always say. If you look at like puppies, like dogs get pregnant now in a few weeks. They're giving birth, 12 come out. You don't know that, I'm actually having I'm an elephant. It's going to take me 2 years. So you're looking at your neighbor and comparing. That's why you're frustrated with the cycle. You can't. You have to respect the law of gestation and do what is necessary from your side.
Well, we heard that. I think that's really common among us, the youth, especially the norms we have in Nigeria. They feel like Nigerians are very quick at making things happen. So generally, I feel young people really need to hear that, really. So the seventh question is, okay, that's to you. So what are your values? You've gone far, and then for you to have come this far, that means you had a mindset, you had values that brought you this far. And so the question is, what are your values and the mindset you had and cultivated while you were growing and building your career?
Okay, so as mentioned, I was born in South Africa. And in Southern and Eastern Africa, we have a concept of Ubuntu. And it comes from the Bantu languages, which are mainly in Southern Africa. And it basically comes from the root word for humanity. And the concept of Ubuntu is, I am because we are, right? So the number one value I've been taught is you're never better than another person just because you have more.
Wow.
And what underpins that is when you show up at work, you're looking at a person's humanity before you see them as an employee number. So I'm constantly, it's always recognizing the divine in another person and being able to submit to that. Because my career accelerated quite quickly, I had to learn that humility quite quickly as well, to say I don't know it all. So trusting people around me to help lead me. Also, knowing that even as I will enter a room, I've got to leave that back door open to create opportunities for those coming behind me. Knowing that even though I'm Vumile Msweli, I don't carry that surname. It's a lot bigger than who I am. And also in the South African context, it's an interesting dynamic, right? Because when I succeed, they'll say, Vumile is brilliant. When I fail, they say, African woman, what did you expect? So knowing your humanity and honoring that humanity, for me, has been one of the greatest values that I've carried into every engagement.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Okay, so the eighth question is, if my passion can't be monetized or isn't valuable in the marketplace or the workplace, what do I do?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Okay, so if my passion can't be monetized or isn't valuable in the marketplace or the workplace, what do I do?
Change the marketplace. So if you're in a space, so it's like it's like me being in Lagos and I'm trying to sell palm oil for 1 million naira. The craze, people are going to be like, why? It's cheap here. I take that same 1 liter and I take it to the North Pole and I just find 10 of my Niger people. They take out that 1 million naira quickly because all of a sudden the commodity I'm bringing is now seen as valuable. So if the value you're bringing is not perceived as value, you need to change the marketplace or you need to change what it is that you're selling.
Wow. Change the marketplace. Thank you so much. Okay, so the ninth question is this. What can you tell us about the power of mentorship?
Oh, mentorship is powerful. It is a powerful, powerful tool. So let's define what a mentor is, right? So basically a mentor is someone whose life skills you in essence are trying to replicate in your own life. You've identified someone who's experienced, their skill, that you're looking at and you're saying, oh, I want that experience in my own life. What that person can do is guide you. They can say, be careful of the obstacles that you could potentially face. They can say, these are the resources that you should use. When mentorship goes well, where it's mentorship and reverse mentoring, meaning you're both adding value to each other, what you then can do is also allow your mentor to open up networks. And this is a fascinating dynamic, right? So most people think, oh, please be my mentor, which means make me you, even though it took you 12 years to do it, and give me your networks. That is not mentorship. That's theft, what you're trying to do. You're trying to steal because you're adding no value. So even before approaching a mentor, I always say, what value are you bringing? When people ask me to be their mentor, it's, first of all, I only take a select few a year because it's energy I have to give away and it's lessons I have to give away. Then the first thing is I always ask you, why me? You can't say, oh, I saw you speaking at the United Nations and I liked how you sounded. Then go to a public speaking class. Get an elocution coach. What skill and experience do I have that you're trying to replicate? So study someone before you make them your mentor. And also mentorship is not marriage. It's not for a lifetime. Mentorship is failing you. In essence, if in 20 years' time, you're still having the same mentor, it means you've learned nothing. It means you haven't mastered the skill that the mentor required of you.
Wow.
So that's how I see mentorship.
Wow. I don't know, but I begin to think, while you were talking, I begin to think, America, we need to create a time where we could bring it to Nigeria. I don't know, but this is very powerful. I feel like a lot of young people really need to listen to young people like you that have actually gone far. I was talking to someone and then, so I'm in school, I'm in college right now, and I saw some young people and they felt like it was wrong to think big. It was wrong to actually give structure to your idea. So when they see young persons doing things that they feel that they have not done, they think is a miracle. So having seen you, I feel this is very powerful, and I really want every young person to actually listen to this so that they see that it is actually possible as Africans, as young Africans, to actually become the best in our field. Not just thinking that it's going to be a miracle to do things that people are doing. So it's not a miracle if Ms. Vomi can actually do this. It means that every young African can actually as well do this. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. So I call it the 9A question. Okay, the 9A question.
9A, okay.
Yeah, 9A question. So what is the now this is very, very, very I don't do this. I think I've done this only twice. What is the influence of your faith in your success, and how has it impacted what you do and you as an individual?
So for me, my faith shows up in how I treat others and most importantly in how I treat myself. So how I've grown up, right? So I come from a very traditional family, faith-wise. So I'm Catholic, right? So one of the first rules, even as Christians, that we know is you need to treat others how you treat yourself. Meaning, if you see yourself as inferior, you're going to treat others as inferior, and that will show up and manifest as jealousy. So my faith for me shows up in the fact that it's service before self, and it's God before all. Because when it's not easy, when it's not nice, I don't want to stand in front of my maker and say, oh my goodness, all the opportunities you gave me that you did not afford my ancestors, I dropped the ball. I could have been more. I think we've all heard the story of the servants with the talents.
Yeah.
You don't want to take that and hide it. It is a disservice to humanity to not be the highest expression of ourselves. To say, oh, but God, you didn't realize you put me in Africa, so you know how rough things are here. That is not an excuse. Wherever you're planted, you should really bloom. So that's the first place I think my faith shows up. The second place my faith shows up for me is knowing that when it's all said and done, I am not responsible for making everything perfect. I do the best I can to the best of my ability, and then I surrender to my maker. You know, once you've done all you can, then you stand. And in entrepreneurship, there are moments where you need to stand, where faith sustains you when there's nothing else. Because, you know, even if we're looking at guys like, you know, Jeff Ma, all these brilliant people who've achieved so much, they all had faith. They all had faith. The difference is how that faith shows out. So because of my own personal faith, it shows out in knowing that my maker is in control. And that my legacy is to make sure that when I meet him, I am the best version of myself and I didn't drop the ball. That's how it shows up for me.
Wow. I like moments like this. Very powerful. Love moments like this. Thank you so much. You know, it's very simple, very, very simple. You know, we have a lot of misconception about faith and religion, and then having to hear you clarify from your opinion about this, it's very powerful. And I would some of my young people that I hear that somehow think otherwise about what religion truly means, to learn as well from what you just said. And we are done with this section, but before we allow you go, we've read your profile. We've seen so much you have done. We've seen how powerful you are. And especially, I'm convinced right now, you know, when I read your profile, it wasn't very powerful, but it was powerful. But, you know, when you have a head knowledge about something, it's different from when you have an experiential knowledge about it. And I've had an experiential knowledge about your profile, and then I think it has really blown my mind. So, we have young people who ask, Miracle, what advice do you ask them? So, the last question is this. You've had experiences with people, you've related with people, you've dealt with you've worked with different sectors and all. You're from Africa, and you've done so much in your career. What advice would you give to young people of our generation? What advice? What is that present thing that you want young people to know in this time?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to be a coach on this.
Yes.
The biggest frustration for me in looking at young people, and also with myself sometimes, is we have this very clear vision of where it is that we believe we belong, right? I should be in a music video, in essence. I should have all the Mercedes, all the Range Rovers, the Porsches, the mansion, having cocktails in Miami. That's the vision. Then what we fail to do is then work it back and say, but I'm here. What needs to happen between getting there and getting here? And then realizing that it's not a microwave where it'll just pop in 30 minutes and it's done. Every single person you've seen who has succeeded has done it because they've put in the hard work when it's not fun. Everyone's obsessed with, oh, Elon Musk is amazing. Elon Musk was born in Pretoria. That's an hour away from me. He had to overcome a number of things. The first, he had to decide for himself that South Africa wasn't where it was going to work for him. Then he had to go to a place he'd never been before, Canada, to meet an uncle he didn't even know and convince the Canadian government, but because my mother's Canadian, me too, I need a passport. And then from there say, oh, okay, now let me move to America and try and make my dream come true. All the while pushing computer science and learning and some of it teaching himself. He had a vision. The vision was to get to the moon, to get to Mars, right? He was in South Africa, Pretoria. There were tangible steps to get there. My question is, I don't doubt your vision. I'm not anti you. What steps are you going to make in the next couple of years, the next couple of months, the next couple of weeks, tomorrow, today, to get you there?
Wow.
And how are you going to sustain that patience to get there? Because a lot of us don't think that. A lot of us think, oh, but he's a billionaire now. It took over a decade. What's your plan for the next decade?
Well, I think we should just this is really, really odd. You know, this is really, really powerful. So I'm going to ask the question we have on the screen here before we let. Okay, so It says, so my question is, she said, a question, it says, would you advise that while someone is still in college, finds a mentor, or should rather wait till graduation?
Oh no, find them whilst you're still in college and university. Um, a lot of people, so I know everyone has a different approach to university. I worked throughout university. I worked as a waitress. I wrote for the newspaper. I was an SRC. And if I had had a mentor, and remember now, the mentor doesn't now have to be the CEO. You're in varsity, your next step is getting that junior role. Which person can you get who's in a junior role can say to you, this is how I got it, this is how my CV looked, this is what worked for me, these are skills I didn't have that you should be getting to grasp with now. So every single season in your life requires some assistance from another person. You can do it on your own, but trust me, you know that African saying that says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So if you're really wanting to go further, get yourself a mentor as soon as possible. Even having a mentor in high school can help you get ready for university. In my alma mater, we're currently doing that now. There are girls who are in the 10th grade that are being mentored by girls in university. So even stuff like, what subjects are you choosing? A mentor can assist and help you navigate that journey.
Okay, so I hope your question has been answered. Okay, so the next question we have here is, reflecting on your career journey and experiences, what advice would you have for a young self transitioning from the university to the working world?
Oh, I love that question. And that's probably my biggest clientele, one of my big clienteles is, so the reality is when you're in university and college, you're being taught theory. And this is how I want you to think about it. And all of it's like idyllic scenario, right? And it's all usually, the textbooks are usually American, European, and nothing prepares you for the workforce when you're in the continent and you're about to start working. Would you go to a surgeon who says, I've read all the textbooks they've ever written, but I've never cut somebody in my life? That's what university is, and starting to work. You've got all the knowledge and you think you're brilliant. You haven't worked a day in your life. You have no idea corporate politics, perception management, money management, time pressures, bosses who don't like you, toxic environments. You are not ready. And in essence, to answer that, I actually even, that's one of the things I've been working on, is I've even come up with a game to help people get ready. Because I've realized that the only way to get graduates ready is through experience. Because that first onboarding, they're confused. Then they think, oh, I can just speak to the CEO. No, this is not your professor that you can just ask questions. You have to understand the various levels and the layout that you're in, because you could do more damage than good. A mentor is a fantastic thing to get yourself. A coach is a fantastic thing to get yourself when you're kicking off. Resources. Do not stop studying because you've left university. Please now start studying for the game of life. Start studying for the game that is your career. Because you think you know, but you have never held a scalpel in your hand. You've never cut anybody open.
Wow. So I think your question has been answered, and I want to say a big thank you to you, to Mrs. Bumi. Thank you so much. This is a great privilege having you here. I don't know. I don't know how to say thank you well enough, but I'm really grateful from the bottom of my heart. I want to say a big thank you. Thank you so much. And before she will leave, I have to say about 5 thank you before she goes. And while I'm waiting for the thank you, yeah, I'm saying about 5 thank you before she leaves. So while I'm waiting for thank you, I actually want to, having her here, I really do this, but I really need to do this because I think this is very powerful coming from an African young woman. And I believe there is more that she's actually yet to achieve. So please, with the questions I'm getting, the questions I'm actually saying, I would really want you people to actually get coached. If you have to pay, if it's very necessary for you, if you believe you have a great vision, it's very important that you get coached and have a mentor. And if you know you have so much you can offer, then you should be willing to put in heavy effort and pay whatever it will cost you to get what you really need to become better for yourself. So please, I'm recommending that for those who need a coach, please meet Mrs. Vumi. She's very powerful. I'm really shocked. Normally I write pages, I write pages, but I couldn't write pages because I really needed everything to actually dawn on me. So they like to watch this all over again. So please, I really want you guys to actually get in touch with her and then pay whatever it is to actually make you a better person. She's not just speaking head knowledge. This is someone speaking experiential knowledge, things that will really change your life for good, and very powerful. And for those who are just joining, I want you to actually go back, watch again, so you understand why I'm saying this. So you understand what I'm saying. You should actually have to get in touch. Thank you so much, Ma. And then I think we have one question. I wouldn't want to take too much of the time, but let me just check.
No worries.
Okay, so she said, what are you most proud about yourself in your career journey so far?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I think there's so many moments where I was like, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe this is happening. But I think the moment I was the most proud of myself was when I was addressing the African Union at Africa Talks Jobs.
Wow.
That for me, I think, because I was raised a Pan-Africanist. So being aware of the different parts of the continent, understanding that I'm African is a big part of my identity. And I'm sure if you see my social media, 80% of the time, I'm in African attire. It's a very big part of who I am. Like I mentioned before, it's an identity. And I think being recognized as a career coach whose voice is valid and whose insights can add not just to South Africa, but to the continent, for me was definitely a moment I definitely, patted myself on the back and I said, well done.
Has that question been answered? This is very powerful. I don't know, but this is really powerful. I don't know. But please don't mind me. And this, I'm really, it's, when you are, what word would I use for it? But really, this is really a great section for me. It's a really great section for me, and that I wouldn't take this for granted. I'm really, really grateful. So now, we're going to let Mrs. Vumi leave now. And please, I want to say 5 thank you before she goes. We'll not let her go. I want to say big thank you to her. Let's say thank you. Let's say big thank you. Let's say big thank you for her.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated the session and connecting and chatting. You've brought a little bit of Lagos closer to me because I haven't been in over a year. See, but this is the mistake you made. Where's my poundo yam? Where's okra? Where's something? What is this?
I think very soon by God's grace we're going to have you live in Nigeria here and in Lagos. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know that I'm working towards it. I'm going to have you. I personally would invite you to Lagos. I don't know, but I personally, I've been in this section with you. No. I really need to have you speak live, like live, and I don't know, but this is very powerful. Coming from, I don't know, you really find Africans, young Africans, really speak the truth. Fine, we believe in God, but having to face the reality at the same time, knowing that we have faith in God, but having to face the reality. It's very powerful that having a young person like you really address issues like that. Thank you so much. So please, I'm waiting for thank you before she goes. I've seen 1, 24 before she goes. Please, let's do it quickly so we'll let her go. She won't go until but I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you before she leaves, so I don't want to take much of her time really, and I don't want this to be long so young people can watch this, Yeah, so let's say thank you. I want another thank you.
Thank you so much.
4 more. I'm waiting. You guys, please don't.
All right,
don't.
Miracle Watts, there's something you said, and this is going to be my last comment. The biggest challenge I think we have on the continent is what you're saying, is that, we believe in God, is a lot of us forget that God has empowered us to do things, right? And we tend to offset the work that needs to be done to God. I'll pray about it. Prayer has its place, but execution has its place too. I'm yet to see any answer in the Bible with God outside of even manna. Even then, people had to go outside and look for it, where he just provided without action. He provides the means, not always the finished product. God is not in the business of making chairs. He makes trees. So it's up to us to also, put some work in. Do a little bit of work. Prayer has its place, but it's not the only solution. We also have our hands. That in itself is an answered prayer. And the energy that we can dispense.
Wow. Thank you so much. They said prayer has its place and execution has its place. This is powerful, man. See, guys, sexy. I'm really grateful, man. Really, really grateful. I don't know, but I'm really excited about having you here and then seeing this. I'm going to watch this about 5 times again. So let's see how. Really.
Thank you so much, everybody. Please
so
stay safe. So,
thank you so
Oshe, thank you.
much.
Daddy,
Oshe.
you guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay. Okay. Guys, thanks very much. Thank you so much for joining. I want to say a big thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to my brother. He's joined, but I'm not going to mention his name. He doesn't like to mention for sponsoring and then helping this come alive, you know, for always being there for us to make this section go live. Thank you so much for taking care of us, you know. Thank you. He likes to be kept private. He doesn't like to be known. And thank you very much, everyone. I would like let me just try and mention about his name, if it's possible. Okay, Williams, Donald, thank you. Samuel, thank you for joining. Yolanda, thank you for joining. It's a great privilege having you guys here. So we're going to be having next session tomorrow at 6 p.m. and then we're having a great woman, you know. She'll be speaking. She'll be sharing some insights on success and then living the future and how you think about the future. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. And thank you very much to my brother. He's joined here, but I'm not going to mention his name. Thank you very much for all you do. I really appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.